revolution. Chen Fan stands behind her, arms crossed with a smug smirk. At the Marine Research Lab, skepticism filled the room. Transforming an electric eel into a superorganism? Madness. Some worried about growth limits, others about deadly consequences. Lilei stood firm. Was this a breakthrough or a reckless gamble? The room tensed as a new voice cut through the discussion. Don't do anything against the laws of nature. Ito Yun's arrival sent a ripple of unease. Ito Yan made his entrance, casually greeting the team before cutting straight to the point. Did you really say you're going to transform the electric eel into a superorganism? His skepticism was clear. No one had ever achieved such limitless growth. Ito Yun threw his hand into the air, his voice echoing with confidence. Who are we? The room tensed. We're the most innovative research team at Jianyun University. With clenched fists and fiery determination, the team reaffirmed their commitment. There was no challenge they wouldn't take on, but doubts quickly surfaced. Didn't you just say this experiment could kill the eel? Someone interjected. Panic set in for one member, his voice cracking. This eel is more important than my life. The team pleaded with Chen, their determination unwavering. Trust us, we never give up halfway. But hesitation lingered in the air. One member, Fan, looked uneasy, his concern evident. Lele, sensing his distress, reassured him with a soft gaze. Don't worry, Fan, we'll test on other creatures first. Her words were meant to comfort, but Fan's heart remained heavy with doubt. At the seaside of Jianyun City, the team arrived at their new experimental base. Look, this is the place I rented, one of them announced proudly. As the team arrived, they observed the old shipyard with mixed feelings. It looks shabby. Has it been abandoned for decades? One of them asked, skeptically. Despite concerns about its suitability, the leader reassured them. The team gathered around a massive tank, staring in awe at the creature inside. This is my electric eel, one of them proudly declared. It's 2 meters long now. The eel floated in the glowing water. With a confident smirk, the beanie-wearing researcher raised his hand, exuding excitement. Don't worry, he reassured the team. Their concerned expressions didn't faze him. Leave it to me, he declared. Unknown to everyone, he had a secret. He could transfer his consciousness into the electric eel and control it underwater. This ability had already earned him $1 million commission for a treasure hunt. With excitement gleaming in his eyes, he revealed his true goal, transforming the eel for deep-sea exploration. However, an eel alone wouldn't be enough. To navigate the vast ocean, with a confident smirk, he confirmed the GPS system's success. Everything was falling into place. Meanwhile, at the police station, a woman walked with purpose, her presence hinting at an unfolding investigation. Unbeknownst to him, his actions had already caught the attention of the authorities. Confused, the woman paused outside the police station, uncertain of which way to go. A voice called out, guiding her through the neon-lit streets. She hesitated before following, unaware of the path she was about to take. Blushing, she was caught off guard by the idea of being thanked. The man, flustered, quickly suggested a feast as a gesture of gratitude. Her eyes narrowed. Was he implying she was a glutton? His hesitant, didn't help his case. Excitedly, she declared her craving for French food and rushed ahead, grabbing a hand in her enthusiasm. Only when the real companion called out did she realize she had grabbed the wrong person's hand. Realizing her mistake, she awkwardly pulled away as the stranger laughed, calling her open. Embarrassed, she apologized to her real companion, who looked both amused and confused. Brushing off the moment, she quickly urged, "Let's go." As they strolled through the neon-lit streets, he couldn't help but think she was growing fond of him. Just as he started feeling smug about his plan, a voice suddenly called out. Someone had caught up with them. She turned, eyes widening in surprise. "Oh, it's you." Under the glow of neon lights, a tall man exhaled smoke with a smirk. "Don't make a fuss, this isn't the first time I've seen you on a date," he teased. Xie Fengma, head of the Criminal Investigation Department, had arrived uninvited. Shocked, the girl called out, "Brother!" While her date looked puzzled. She groaned in embarrassment. "What a stalker!" "What?" With a heavy arm around his shoulders, the young man found himself dragged along as Xie Fengma declared, "Are you my brother-in-law? Let's eat." The girl froze in horror. Her perfect date night was crumbling. As the neon lights flickered around them, she sighed in frustration. "Ruined my plan again." Xie Fengma wasted no time, enthusiastically ordering a feast, 10 bottles of beer, 50 lamb kebabs, and a bottle of ergot. With a smirk, he poured drinks, lamenting how his little sister always lost her senses around handsome men. Raising his glass, he beckoned the young man. "Come on, cheers." The night was only beginning. Xie Fengma took a deep gulp of his drink, savoring the strong liquor with a satisfied grin. "Cool, good wine," he declared, slamming his glass down with enthusiasm. His energy was contagious, and with a hearty slap on the young man's back, he urged him to drink as well. Hesitant at first, the young man finally gave in. Oh, Okay. With a confident smirk, Xie Fengma poured another round, raising his glass high in the air. Cheers, he declared, locking eyes with his drinking partner. Their glasses clinked in a loud toast before he downed the liquor in one go, savoring the burn. Meanwhile, the young man hesitated, eyeing his drink with uncertainty. As the waves crash against the isolated research facility, a sinister glow spills from within. Inside, a figure with a chilling grin types away at a console, initiating the electroshock stimulus program. Inside the lab, the team closely monitors the eel's vitals. Steady pulse, balanced nutrients, everything in place. With a decisive press of the keyboard, the command is given: initiate. Pipes hum to life, and inside the containment chamber, the electric eel begins its transformation. Electricity surges through the chamber as the eel convulses violently, its body writhing in an explosion of blue lightning. The experiment has begun, but will it be a success or a disaster? The containment chamber trembles as the electric eel absorbs the immense voltage, its body pulsing with raw energy. With a blinding surge of energy, the electric eel undergoes a monstrous transformation, its form expanding into a terrifying beast of raw power. Sparks crackle violently as the laboratory struggles to contain the overwhelming force. As the bottles pile up, the young man slurs his words, barely keeping himself upright. His drinking companion, now exuding a more sinister aura, finally leans in with a smirk, lighting a cigarette. "Let's get down to business," he says, eyes narrowing. The room spins, but one question cuts through the haze. "What's your name?" Chen Fan, red-faced and tipsy, tries to answer the rapid-fire questions, stumbling over his words. "I'm 22, a student. I had one girlfriend, but we broke up." His interrogator, now puffing a cigarette, leans in with narrowed eyes. "Why do you like my sister? Can you make her happy?" The tension crackles, until a loud, "Enough," cuts through the air. The sister, flustered and red-faced, snaps at her brother. "Brother, shut up, we just met for the first time, how could you ask that?" Chen Fan, still tipsy, waves it off awkwardly. "Oh, no, that's all right." The brother, suddenly self-conscious, covers his face, muttering, occupational habit, but before the tension can fade, he fires another question. "By the way, where do you live?" Chen Fen hesitates. The sister, already exasperated, clenches her fists. "Brother." Meanwhile, the brother finally realizes his mistake. Jie's sister tries to ease the tension. "Sorry, Chen Fan. My brother is the chief of the criminal police unit. He's used to talking in the way of interrogation." Chen Fan, still slightly flustered but laughing it off, replies, "Oh, your brother is a very warm person, haha." She reassures him, "Hope you won't mind." Meanwhile, her brother waves dismissively. "Himph, little Fan won't mind." Chen Fan, however, cringes internally at the nickname. "Little Fan, that's creepy." Chen Fan, still flustered from the intense questioning, suddenly straightens up and shouts, "Yes!" Xie's brother and Xiaoya both freeze in shock, their expressions filled with confusion and surprise. Trying to compose himself, Chen Fan continues, "I mean, I have to admit it. Although I just met Xiaoya." Xiaoya's eyes widen in surprise as she softly murmurs, "Chen Fun." Chen Fun clenches his fists, his face filled with determination. "I know I'm shallow and weak. I don't deserve to have her," he admits, looking down. He dramatically raises a hand toward the sky. "Xiaoya is like the bright moon in the sky, and I'm just a puddle of mud on the ground." His voice trembles with emotion. "This difference made me anxious all these days." Chen Fan, flushed from the drinks, declares with passion, "To protect our beloved woman." Xiaoye looks startled, while her brother watches with a skeptical smirk, thinking, charming, but... He clears his throat. "Hey, boy, what skills do you have?" Chen Fan grins nervously. "What I said was nice, right?" Chen Fan confidently explains. "To tell you the truth, I recently set up a company providing seabed salvage services," he continues. "We specialize in treasure hunting, maritime transportation, and other tasks. I'm not rich, but I can provide a fair living standard." Xiaoya's brother narrows his eyes, taking a drag from his cigarette. "Seabed salvage?" Chen Fan nods eagerly. "Yup. Everything's ready. Except for one thing, I need a professional underwater GPS device." Xiaoya's brother leans forward, intrigued. "You can find what I want just with an underwater GPS device?" Chen Fan nods confidently. "Yup. Even if it's in the deepest parts of the ocean, I can salvage whatever the customer wants." The man exhales smoke, eyes narrowing. "Interesting. But you'll have to do something for me first." He slams his hand on the table, sealing the deal. "Okay, I'll lend you the underwater GPS device." The man leans in, pointing his finger sharply. "You should help me destroy the gang." Chen Fan stiffens, weighing his options. "Fair and reasonable," he responds, forcing confidence into his voice. His mind races. Zhongyan City is a mix of good and bad, crawling with gangs. Messing with the wrong people is suicide. But another thought gnaws at him. Chen Fan clenches his fists. determination flaring in his eyes. "Okay, I'm in," the man across from him smirks. "It's not too late to regret now." Choya watches nervously as Chen Fan stands his ground. "Never regret it. A gentleman's promise is as heavy as 1,000 pounds. With an unshaken gaze, they seal the deal. "Okay, deal." The Dark Cloud Gang rules Jiangyin City's underworld with fear, led by Wei Qing, who hides behind a shipping company while running a vast empire of smuggling, arms, drugs, and human trafficking. Their power is untouchable. The plan is set in motion. The police receive intel that the Black Cloud Gang will be conducting an illegal trade at sea. This location is their usual meeting point. The strategy? Special police will infiltrate the ship to gather intel and disrupt the deal. Chen Fan will lurk nearby, ready to dive if the gang throws their illegal cargo into the sea. Chun Fan's task is complete, but for his safety, an officer will guard him for 24 hours. Xiao Ya, worried about her brother's absence, questions him, but he laughs it off as a men's secret. Just then a mysterious figure approaches. "Who?" Xiao Ya asks. A determined man approaches at full speed, carrying a heavy backpack. His intense gaze and steady stride signal his unwavering focus. Chen Fan is introduced to Wang Dongjie, his assigned bodyguard for the next 24 hours. With a firm stance and an intense gaze, Wang assesses the situation, showing little emotion. Chen Fan extends a friendly greeting, but Wang remains unreadable, silent. As the group parts ways, Chen Fan waves goodbye while being reassured that Wang isn't much of a talker. The police car drives off into the night, leaving Chen Fan and Wang standing in silence. With an intense gaze, Wang breaks the quiet, asking their next destination, ready to take on whatever comes next. Chen Fan hails a taxi, deciding to head home with Wang following closely behind. As they sit in silence, the tension between them is palpable. Chen Fan suspects that Wang's presence isn't just for protection but to keep a close watch on him, ensuring he doesn't leak any secrets to the gang. Meanwhile, Wang remains stoic, his sharp gaze fixed ahead, unreadable yet vigilant. As Chen Fan confidently declares their destination as research, Wang remains skeptical, quickly realizing they are not heading toward Zhongyin University as expected. Chen Fan, however, feigns innocence, pretending not to recall mentioning the university at all. Meanwhile, the taxi speeds through the city, taking them toward an unknown location, leaving Wang increasingly suspicious of Chen Fan's true intentions. As Chen Fan and Wang arrive at their unexpected destination, a stern-looking woman, Lei, greets them impatiently. "Chen Fan, you finally come," she exclaims, her arms crossed as if she had been waiting for a while. Wang remains wary, glancing around the unfamiliar surroundings. Chen Fan, however, grins and asks about the supposed study they were here for. Chen Fan's eyes widen in shock as he peers into the water tank. The once powerful electric eel, the key to their experiment, is floating lifelessly. "The electric eel is dead?" he exclaims, disbelief washing over him. Chen Fan grabs Lei, his frustration boiling over. "What did you tell me, huh? Didn't you say it wouldn't die?" His voice is sharp with betrayal as he recalls her reassurances. Lei stammers, overwhelmed, while he presses on. "You said you'd keep it safe. You said you'd start with another creature first." Desperation fills his eyes as he demands answers. Meanwhile, the weight of failure sinks in. Kazma Kimbek is on his way. He clenches his fists, whispering, "It's all over." As Chen Fan drowns in his despair, the others decide to leave him alone, pitying his situation. Wang stands by silently, watching over him, while tensions rise. Chen Fan suddenly lashes out, blaming Wang, but Lei steps in, taking full responsibility as the team leader. She admits her failure to stop the experiment. As frustration boils over, the scientist questions the failure of the experiment, doubting the transformation process. Desperate, he blames the electric eel, claiming it was too fragile and suggests trying another creature. Meanwhile, the rest of the team regrets using the eel first, realizing their mistake too late. Wang, observing the chaos, is lost in thought, unsure of what to do next. Wang is tasked with protecting Fan but is really there to keep an eye on him and prevent any leaks of their plan. With Fan alone in the factory, any contact he makes could be dangerous. Wang assesses his surroundings, noting the 6-meter height and preparing for action. Recalling his intense training, he convinces himself he can succeed. He strategizes his approach, ensuring the right distance for his move, knowing that whatever happens next will unfold in full view of the public. Wang makes his move, launching himself with precision. His boots slam against the rooftop edge, propelling him forward in a powerful leap. He soars through the air, every muscle tense, his focus unwavering. Below, voices echo, "Run, boy!" Wang soars through the air, his body tense with determination, fists clenched as sunlight glints off his wristband. Below, the onlookers watch in awe, their faces frozen in a mix of disbelief and curiosity. Wang crashes into the wall with full force, the impact sending cracks splintering across the surface. A moment of silence follows as everyone processes what just happened. Hanging awkwardly against the wall, he slowly slides down, his bruised face filled with silent regret. Wang quickly rationalizes his failed attempt, blaming the wrong angle of his jump and lack of preparation. Determined to redeem himself, he had anticipated such a situation and prepared a wooden box to land on. He strikes a confident pose, but the onlookers remain puzzled, their expressions filled with silent question marks. Wang, determined to prove himself, charges forward with full force, vowing to succeed this time. His foot slams onto the ledge, launching him into the air with incredible speed. The onlookers watch in anticipation as he soars toward his target, hoping this attempt won't end in another embarrassing failure. Wang finally manages to grip the ledge, his heart pounding as he realizes he made it. "I did it," he exclaims, hanging on with determination. Below, the onlookers remain baffled, some wondering if he's practicing basketball dunks. As he pulls himself up, his eyes widen. He's not alone on the other side. Wang peers through the window, spotting Chen Fan slumped on the ground in despair. The failed experiment looms over him, the electric eel suspended lifelessly in its tank. Shadows consume Chen Fan as he clenches his fists, overwhelmed by regret and uncertainty. Chen Fan is frozen in shock, staring at the lifeless electric eel. Memories flood his mind, his excitement when first acquiring it, his determination to raise it, and the moments of joy watching it grow. The harsh reality crashes down on him, the experiment has failed, and with it his dreams may have died too. Chen Fan mourns the loss of the electric eel, believing the experiment has failed. As he touches the tank, a sudden realization dawns on him. His consciousness has merged with the eel. Overwhelmed with excitement, he discovers he can control it, unlocking a whole new world beneath the sea. Chen Fan is overwhelmed with guilt, realizing that while he worried about his own concerns, the eel had lost its life. As he mourns, a strange sensation washes over him, making him question what he is feeling. Meanwhile, an observer notes his deep sorrow, unaware of the transformation about to unfold. As Chen Fan falls into a trance, his consciousness begins to drift, drawn by an overwhelming force. Confused yet intrigued, he follows the mysterious attraction, only to realize its source, the eel. As Chen Fan steps out, the group watches in shock, realizing the experiment's failure was more drastic than expected. Concerned, they rush to him, apologizing for their recklessness. Meanwhile, Wang silently observes from a distance, his expression unreadable. Chen Fan forces a smile, claiming he's fine, but his unsteady posture and the concerned expressions of his friends say otherwise. Then, with a sudden manic excitement, he declares that the electric eel is not only alive but something even greater. The experiment takes an unexpected turn as the electric eel not only revives, but undergoes a shocking transformation, growing into a massive, monstrous creature. Under the starry night, Chongqian City glowed peacefully, while a grand cruise ship sailed through the open sea, alive with luxury and laughter. But beneath the waves, something was stirring. Something that would soon turn their carefree voyage into a nightmare. The grand cruise ship belonged to Wei Qing, the feared gang leader of Chongqian City. Beneath its luxury, high-stakes games decided fortunes. Inside the ship, the casino buzzed with energy as gamblers crowded around tables, their eyes locked on fortune's spin. A young man stared in awe at the lavish scene, overwhelmed by the sheer luxury and high-stakes atmosphere. Chips clinked, cards flipped, and drinks flowed. But beneath the glamour, the real game was far more dangerous than anyone realized. Fan marveled at the legendary gambling ship, his excitement barely contained as he took in the grand spectacle around him. Meanwhile, his companion whispered a plan, signaling that it was time to act separately, a move that hinted at something bigger beneath their casual presence. Just as Fan prepared to play his part, a sharp voice called out, questioning his every move. Clearly, not everyone was convinced by his carefree act. With a smug grin, Fan casually boasted about his best diver, revealing that his electric eel had not only come back from the dead, but had transformed into a monstrous 15-meter beast. His companion's confusion was obvious, but Fan seemed completely unfazed. Gliding through the depths, a shark prowled its territory, its sharp eyes scanning for prey. But as crackling electricity pulsed through the water, an eerie presence loomed nearby, sending a shiver of instinctual fear through the predator. The tables had turned. This time, the hunter had become the hunted. Sensing danger, the shark darted away in panic, its instincts screaming at it to flee. But it was too late. Crackling with electricity, the monstrous eel surged forward, its massive body cutting through the water like a living bolt of lightning. The monstrous eel coiled through the depths, its body crackling with electric fury as the terrified shark fled for its life. With a smug grin, Fan brushed off the concern about controlling his monstrous eel, playfully tapping his head as if the answer was all in his genius. "I have my ways," he assured, his confidence almost unsettling. Instead of explanations, he threw his arms up, urging everyone to just enjoy the night. As frustration boiled over, Fan's smugness only grew, teasing that his secret was far too valuable to share. While the others seethed, he casually placed his bet, calling out Red 28, like he was controlling more than just the roulette table. Meanwhile, the truth unfolded. Fan nonchalantly placed another bet, casually likening his monstrous eel's revival to a stroke of good fortune. Came back from the dead and got stronger, he mused, as if that were a perfectly normal occurrence. The roulette wheel spun, the ball bouncing unpredictably, much like the chaos brewing beneath the ship, where the real gamble had already begun. Fan reveled in his winnings, arms wide as if fortune itself had personally blessed him, declaring his unstoppable luck. Meanwhile, skepticism lingered among his companions, one doubting his ability to do anything significant, while another hinted at a backup plan. Whether Fan's confidence was pure arrogance or part of a bigger scheme, one thing was clear. This game wasn't over yet. As the casino buzzed with excitement, another game was already in motion. One far more dangerous. The special police had infiltrated the ship, moving to secure key positions and take control from the shadows. Outside, a guard casually checked in, unaware that danger was creeping up behind him. Disguised as waiters, the infiltrators moved seamlessly through the ship's lavish halls, blending into the background of luxury and excess. A silent nod, a discreet exchange, every movement was calculated as they passed by unsuspecting guards. With each step, the noose tightened around their target, the real game of deception now fully in motion. With a friendly smile and a casual high five, the disguised infiltrators played their roles perfectly, keeping suspicions low. Meanwhile, others took a more covert route, slipping into the ship's ventilation system like shadows in the dark. The operation was unfolding smoothly, but in a high-stakes game like this, the real challenge was yet to come. Deep within the ship, the gang leaders gathered around a table stacked with money, their negotiations masked behind drinks and cold stares. Wei Qing, the self-proclaimed host, spread his arms wide in welcome, his grin as sharp as the deals being made. Around the table, the city's most powerful figures flattered him, acknowledging his true control over Zhongyan City. With a confident smirk, Wei Qing welcomed the usual tradition. Cards first, business later. The dealer expertly shuffled the deck, the crisp sound of sliding cards filling the room as the game was set. The cards were dealt, and tension filled the room as each gang leader studied their hand, their expressions carefully guarded. Stacks of cash sat beside them, but this was more than just a game of luck. Every move was a calculated test of dominance. Wei Qing, ever confident, placed his card down with a sly grin, his cigar smoldering as if Wei Qing leaned in with a smug grin, confidently declaring his hand the biggest as he threw down a massive bet of RMB 5 million. The others followed suit, raising the stakes even higher, some adding millions more without hesitation. The tension thickened as the money piled up, but to these men, this wasn't just about winning cards. It was about proving dominance in a game where power was the real currency. From the vents above, the infiltrators watched in disbelief. Of all the things they expected from a secret gang meeting, a high-stakes game of 5-card stud wasn't one of them. Wei Qing basked in his winning streak, grinning as he pulled in another pile of cash, his confidence growing with every hand. The other gang leaders, their expressions unreadable, played along, though suspicion lingered in the air. Was it luck, skill, or something more? Either way, the game wasn't just about money. It was a silent battle of control. Wei Qing demanded another round, his winning streak seemingly endless as stacks of cash piled up in front of him. But from the shadows, a keen observer noticed something strange. He wasn't just lucky. From the vents above, the infiltrators watched in disbelief. Something wasn't adding up. The gang bosses weren't just playing, they were deliberately losing, feeding Wei Qing's ego like it was part of a bigger scheme. Meanwhile, outside the room, security tightened, guards standing firm as if protecting more than just a poker game. Jie Fengma's voice crackled through the radio, his tone sharp and commanding as he gave the order. Within seconds, masked operatives surged forward, weapons ready, moving like a well-oiled machine. The time for observation was over. Now it was action. Panic erupted as the guards realized too late the police had already infiltrated the ship. Shouts of alarm filled the hallway, but before anyone could react, a masked operative struck with lightning speed, sending one guard flying with a brutal kick. The ambush was swift, precise, and merciless. There was no time for the criminals to fight back. The masked operatives stormed in, moving with lightning speed as the guards barely had time to react. Meanwhile, Wei Qing sat comfortably, oblivious to the chaos, savoring his supposed victory. But the moment the doors burst open, his smug expression twisted into shock. The room exploded into chaos as 2 guards were sent flying, their screams echoing as they crashed through the air. Jie Fengma stepped into the room, his men casting long shadows over the stunned gang leaders. With a smirk, he called out Wei Qing for hosting this high-stakes game, but Wei, unfazed, reminded him they were in international waters, technically beyond police jurisdiction. However, Wei Qing leaned back with a smirk, feigning innocence. Just a friendly game, he said, gesturing at the cards and chips. But Jie Fengma wasn't buying it. With a sharp gaze, he pulled out a card, as if revealing his own hand. The tension thickened. Wei Qing's smirk faded as a shadow moved in the vent above. A masked agent dropped down gracefully, landing between the two factions. "Someone in the vent?" Wei's voice wavered for the first time. Shifeng Ma took a slow drag of his cigarette, unfazed. "Any findings?" he asked coolly, as the infiltrator adjusted their mask, ready to reveal the truth. As the infiltrator pulled off their mask, a wave of silence swept over the room. The striking pink hair was unmistakable. Fan. Shifeng Ma exhaled a thin stream of smoke, his expression unreadable. "You're right, Wei," she admitted. The realization hung heavy in the air. Wei's endless winning streak wasn't luck. Fan's sharp gaze swept across the room, noting the subtle, almost imperceptible nods exchanged between the other bosses. "They wanted you to win," she stated, her tone carrying an edge of suspicion. "But why?" Fan's words sent a chill through the room, her sharp gaze cutting through the tension like a blade. The gang leaders exchanged nervous glances, beads of sweat forming on their foreheads. Wei's forced grin twitched at the edges. "Of course," he muttered, but his fingers tensed against the table. Shifeng Ma took a slow drag of his cigarette, exhaling as he spoke. Fan's sharp eyes locked onto the room card, its placement on the table far too deliberate to be a coincidence. "There must be some code that hasn't been worked out yet," she murmured, her mind racing through the possibilities. Shifeng Ma observed silently, his cigarette burning down as he watched her deduce the truth. Wei's face twisted in rage as he roared, his voice echoing through the room. "Hi!" His subordinates, sensing the shift, immediately straightened up. "Yes, sir," one of them barked, stepping forward with deadly intent. Fan's eyes widened, her body tensing as the tension in the air thickened. Before she could react, the floor beneath her trembled. One of Wei's men slammed his foot down with brute force. The massive enforcer in the yellow suit slammed his fist into the table, sending splinters and playing cards flying through the air. The sheer force of his strike shattered the wood beneath him, showcasing his raw power. Wei, crouched behind, grinned wickedly as chaos unfolded. Without hesitation, the brute snatched the room 2108 keycard off the table. Fan's finger hovered over the trigger as she aimed straight at the charging brute, but Shifeng Ma's sharp command stopped her cold. "Don't shoot." Her sharp eyes flickered with hesitation for just a second, just enough time for the massive enforcer to slam his foot down, cracking the floor as the shockwave sent her skidding backward. The elite squad had their weapons trained on the towering enforcer in the yellow suit, their voices sharp. "Stop! Don't move or we'll shoot!" But the brute only snarled in response, his massive fist swinging with the force of a wrecking ball. Bullets rained down, but the hulking brute in yellow barreled through the chaos like an unstoppable force. One punch sent an armed officer flying, his body twisting mid-air before crashing into the others. The radio crackled as Shifeng Ma barked his orders. "Squad 7, target is leaving the room, for room 2108, intercept quickly." But before his men could react, a chilling guttural scream echoed through the air. A squad guard? The room fell into a tense silence as the presence of Wei Qing's 3 bodyguards sent an unspoken warning through the air. Bai Lang, the ghostly figure in white, stood motionless, his face as unreadable as ever.